My dear guests, I am Mr. Raw, your host. Welcome to Fantasy Island.
It is a pleasure and an honor to break bread with you on this delightful afternoon.
Listen, folks, there's one of them newfangled horseless carriages coming.
Hey there, everybody. PTPOP here with all four lobes of my brain securely bound behind my back. And welcome to another episode of PTPOP, Call Center Survivor, where I lead you out of the depths of hell, one grain of truth at a time. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching my show. And today I'm going to talk about a very, very serious topic. And that is the topic of no one has your back in a call center. So stay tuned for that. And I think this is a real, a very serious topic in a way, because we've all been in a call center. We've all been exposed to the harsh treatments of call center. But before I get to that, let me get to one other thing here. And that is some
PTPOP's Shameless self-promotion.
Yes. Shameless self-promotion. What kind of capitalist would I be if I wasn't promoting something and trying to make money off of all of you? Yes, it's true, my friends. This is my teespring.com website. And here I sell apparel. And I sell t-shirts and I sell mugs and cups and cell phone accessories, cell phone covers. And the one I want to direct you to, most kindly, is my Call Center Survivor series, which is down here. And this is the t-shirt you can order through Teespring, and they will mail it to your home. You pay them. They handle the manufacturing of the products. They handle the mailing of it. They handle all the cash. I have nothing to do with the manufacturing of these. And if you get one in the mail that doesn't look right, or if it doesn't arrive, yada, 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 do not write me. Say, I never got it, I heard it from you, and I never got it, and I want my money back. And you've got to go to Teespring. Because of each sale here, of the $21.99 for this shirt, I make like $3. I don't make hardly anything from these. So I'd have to sell like 1,000 of them to really make a difference. But if you want to support this channel, if you want to be a good call center survivor, buy one of these shirts. I've got them there for men, women. I've got hoodies. I've only got them in black and white right now, I think. So there you have it. There is some shameless self-promotion from me to you, my friends. And what I wanted to do today is talk about how no one has your back in a call center. And in order for me to explain how no one has your back in a call center, I first have to tell you what it's like to work in a traditional corporate setting. Okay. And what is funny about it is when you work in a traditional corporate setting, for the most part, you're surrounded by white collar people who are corporate. It's a corporate environment. It's a culture comprised mostly of people that have been to college that have, at the very least, a bachelor's degree. Now, I'm not a big advocate for college. I don't sit up here and go, "Oh, college is the answer to everything, dude." And I went to college, and everything took off right after college. And it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. And college, as I've said in other videos and on my podcast, check out my podcast, PTPOP, A Mind Revolution, on iTunes and iHeartRadio and places like that. But college is what I call a youth utopia. It's like a very expensive youth resort where kids go, get deeply into debt, and learn how to drink beer and get high. And then you hopefully get a job after that. But there's no guarantees, and they don't guarantee you a job after school. But in a corporate environment, you're surrounded by all these people that went to some school. Most people went to state schools. Those that went to the Ivy League schools are in the upper management, upper echelons, like CEOs, vice presidents of the whole shoot match. And you're surrounded in an environment where you work a day job, Monday through Friday, 7 to 4, 8 to 5, something like that. You get to take your lunch. You get to get an hour break, an hour lunch. And there are no assigned breaks, but you get an hour lunch between 12 and 1. And there's no breaks. I mean, you take a break when you want to take a break. You put your computer to sleep. You stand up. You go to the bathroom. You walk around the building. You go outside. You have a cigarette, whatever. And nobody's sitting there going, hey there, Pete. You're not at your desk, man. It's 5 after 6. And you're supposed to work here till 7 tonight. And you got back when you break it. They're not going to get on your back like that. Nobody does that. Nobody cares. It's no type. It's not a Nazi type of environment. And what you're going to find in a corporate world is you're surrounded by a lot of people who have a certain professional decorum. They dress professionally. Everyone's got their business casual attire on or a sports coat, and everyone's nicely, for the most part, clean and shaven. There's not a lot. You're not allowed to show your tattoos. You got to come to work clean and shaven, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You sit in cubicles. You have your own cubicle. It's usually a pretty good sized cubicle in the corner of a room somewhere near a window. You can come and go as you please. And your supervisor, for the most part, is looking out for you, because in the corporate environment, the supervisor wants you to succeed because then they look good. And there's this whole thing where they work with you and they talk with you and they try to, make conversation with you. I had a supervisor in my first big job out of college. It was a company called Progressive Communications. And my supervisor went to Ohio University. Same school I went to. She was maybe a year older than me. Her name was Lisa, and we would get together and she would talk to me about OU and how we missed Athens, Ohio, where the school was located. And we kind of became not friends, but we had that commonality. There was this, chumminess, I guess you call it. I don't know what you call it. There was a camaraderie between all of us, and we all went to some school, or you would talk to one guy, and they grew up in a town near you, and you got to know each other, and you worked on a team. You actually worked on a real team, and each part of that team was incremental to a common goal. And the similarities between the call center work and a corporate environment is there's political wranglings going on between all the people, because everybody wants something other than what they already have. Because especially in the corporate world, those of us who went to college think we are entitled to get promoted. It's expected that we're promoted because we went to Ohio State University, or we went to Ohio University, or we went to Kent State, and just to name some of the ones here in Ohio. So we all have this false sense of who we are, or this false sense of entitlement. And there's a lot of haughtiness and snobbiness, and people will be vying for your position. They'll be trying to get your position while you've got your eye on the next position ahead of you. And there's a lot of subtle little digs and things like that. There is some backstabbing there because people want to get promoted. But there seems to be some type of rationale behind it. There seems to be some method to the madness, if you will, because people just want what they want. Because when you have a degree, like me, it's all about me. It's me, and I just want what I want. Me and Mr. Bigglesworth want to become supervisors, and you don't make me a supervisor. I'm taking Mr. Bigglesworth, and I'm going home. And you meet a lot of people like that in the corporate world. It's really pompous and very immature, but it's very well presented, if you will. It's like, there's a decorum. You walk in your polo shirt with your tweed jacket on and your brown Docker pants. And, well, I went to Ohio State, so I thus am entitled to the next position. When my supervisor leaves the company, I'm taking that position because I went to Ohio State with a business degree. Yes, darling, please get me some more Chardonnay, will you, Jeeves? But in a call center, and people look out for each other, even though I've kind of painted a more maniacal picture of corporate world, people look out for you. I mean, I was in an 8-man call center in my first job with Progressive Communications, which is a company that's been defunct for like 30 years. It's been gone for a long time. And, we all knew our supervisor. We all worked together. We didn't all like each other. But, if I went to lunch, I had a certain amount of clientele that were assigned to me. They're supposed to call me. if they needed new phone lines installed. And they call me up and they say, "Hey, Pete, I need 2 phone lines down, at this building, at this location in Solon, Ohio or something." But if I wasn't there and the phone came into the call queue, my next door neighbor sitting in the cubicle next to me, who was Tracy or Kim, I remember all these people, or Marty, they would take the call, say, "Hey, Pete's not here right now. I'll leave him the message." And they would leave, a message note on my desk. And my supervisor would sit down with me and help me find ways to improve. And it was very cordial. There was no set schedule other than you had to be there like at 7:30 and leave at 5:30, and you had to go to lunch at a given time, but you always got an hour. And I think I always went from 11:30 to 12:30. We had to have stagger the lunches, and there was no scheduled break. You just want to break when you want to go to break. So if you wanted to go out and walk around the building, get some exercise at 11 in the morning, you just go over to your boss and say, "Hey, look, I'm going out for a walk." So you're like, "Okay, just be back. Be careful, be safe, whatever." So you'd see people walk around the building. Things were still getting done. There was still work being done and completed. So it was a very laid back, nothing like a militant atmosphere like in a call center where you're constantly being watched and critiqued and micromanaged. Now, in the corporate world, I was never disciplined. In the corporate world, no one ever sat down with me and said, "You really suck, man. You got to get your shit together, or you're going to have to pack up your desk and go." I never had any problems. I was a hardworking, diligent guy, eager to learn, willing to learn. I've always have been that kind of guy. I just don't pick things up as quickly as most, I guess most people do. I'm a hands-on learner. I'm not a really good book learner. Oingo Boingo's a good hands-on learner. Let me put Oingo Boingo back on the moon where he belongs. There he goes. On top of the moon is Oingo Boingo. So the call center is more like this.
"Hello? I'll have a cheeseburger with no ketchup. And I'll also have a chicken sandwich with no tomatoes. And with extra mayonnaise. And some onion rings with no salt. And shut up."
And the call centers, I've said, call centers are not set up for your success. Call centers, in my opinion, the people that they employ in call centers are beneath the maintenance people that sweep the floors at night and empty the trash cans. And you're probably paid less than what those people are making. Because those people are probably hired by a different company, work for a different company that are unionized, and they probably have health benefits, and they probably have all these perks because they're out cleaning up all the white collar people's crap off the floor. But call center people, the environment is very blue collar. Your typical person that you work with is not college educated, and they do not have an air about them. They don't have any false sense of who they are. Their identity is not propped up because of a piece of paper they received at some college. They don't have, a superficial identity that's been propped up by professors on a pretty college green. And most of the people are very down to earth, salt of the earth type people that are struggling to get by, working paycheck to paycheck to make sure that they have a roof over their head, to make sure there's food on the plate for their kids or their wives or their husbands, to make sure all that stuff is taken care of. And the greatest difference between the two is that once you're in a call center, you realize very quickly you're all alone. You could be in a 2,000-man call center like I was in Verizon, but nobody in the call center gives a shit if you succeed. Number one, the people around you don't have time to help you. So your coworkers that are on the phones, all of you, and your co-grunts, you're all in the bush, wrestling with customers, and your coworkers don't have time to help you if you're struggling. If you're just out of training, and you get on the phones, no one's there to help you. I mean, there's really not. They have floor walkers, but most of the floor walkers are off in the bathroom shooting up smack or in the car getting high or doing things that they shouldn't be doing. They should be on the floor walking around, but they're not. They all disappear. Same with the supervisors. And what I experienced, I can only tell you what I experienced. I'll give you a couple examples of my first big corporate call center after I left Progressive Communications. I went to a company called GTE Wireless. And it was a call center of about 400 people. And it was a mixture of people. There was one floor that was all like the accounting people. And there's another floor that was the marketing people. And then there was a third floor that was the call center. And in the call center, there was like 300 people that works in the call center. And we had training. I think it was like 2 weeks of training. Maybe it was a month. It was a brand new call center, just completely new. Cell phones are brand new. This is like 1993. Brand new call center. Cell phones had just come out. We had this trainer named Donna who looked like Miss Doubtfire. And she was always going like this with her ears, just her hair. She'd be talking. She'd be like, oh, really? Really? Oh. She wasn't British. I'm just mocking her. But she had this hair helmet. It was just like this grayish, brownish hair helmet and a very sharp, pointed, pained face with beady eyes. And, oh dear, yes. And that's the billing system. Yes, yes. And now on to the CAD system where we look at the cell phones. So anyway, I go through this training with Donna and about 30 other people. And we hit the floors and I get out there and I completely face planted. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea. It made sense in training, but it's one thing to have these systems in front of you in training. But it's a different thing when you've got hundreds of calls coming into your headset and people are screaming at you because they want to know what their cell phone bill is. Now, keep in mind, this is over 30 years ago. And back then, people weren't quite as vicious as they are today. They could be, though. And so I got on the phone and I had no idea. I was like a deer caught in headlights. I couldn't remember which was the billing system. I couldn't remember which was the... I think it was called CAS. It was a system where you could look and see if there was features activated on their cell phones, like call waiting and voicemail and all that stuff. And one day I got a tap on the shoulder and Donna, pardon me, Peter, can you come talk with me, dearie? And so I followed her into the training room and she wasn't a supervisor. And I was very young and very naive. I had never been disciplined before and I'd never experienced this kind of call volume because as I said in my previous call center, I had assigned clients calling me that were very polite and nice to me. And we had relationships. And in one of my customers, two of them would even send me Christmas cards. But this was like blitzkrieg. It was just a shower, raining horrific calls and these weird systems and it was an old mainframe thing where you had to put F+6 and a ZYK and stand on your left foot and make a counterclockwise turn to get to a different screen or to enter customer information. I was totally lost. Never seen anything like it before. And she takes me into the training room. She's like, oh, dearie, I'm afraid your performance is not very good. And if it doesn't improve, we're going to have to fire you. And I was just like, what? I mean, there was no consultation ahead of time. There's no coaching. And, at the time, I'm 26 years old, something like that. And I had no idea. They can't just fire you unless something egregious happens. They can't just walk out. I guess they can. It's probably right to work state, Ohio, but they usually have to document everything for legal reasons. They have to sit down and say, okay, we give them this warning. I give them warning 1, 2, and 3. Fourth warning, you're out the door. So you're about to be let go. And they have documented proof as to why they're letting you go in case you decide to sue the company for false, not execution. False termination, execution too. They probably have a guillotine in the basement somewhere in some of these call centers. So she just had it out for me. She thought I was terrible, and she wanted me to consider if this is the right choice for me. And we had this big discussion, and I got back on the floor, and as I said, I'm a slow learner. I have to learn by doing, not by sitting in a classroom and reading textbooks and stuff. So I finally figured it out. I got to be one of the best call center reps on the floor, and they kept me. But I figured it all myself, on my own. So then if you fast forward a couple other years, I moved to Arizona. I get a job at Wells Fargo Bank. And I was doing sales. It was an inbound call center, but I was selling people, trying to get people to agree to sign up for a home equity line of credit or home equity loan. And my numbers were decent. They were in the middle of the road. But there was this one woman on the team. I think her name was Denise. And she was always the number one sales rep. Every week, every month, every quarter, every year. She was the creme de la creme of sales. And I kept sitting with my supervisor and I said down statistically, I said to him, statistically speaking, it would be almost impossible in a call center environment to have that kind of success on a regular basis. And he's like, he would always sit like this. And he said, well, what do you mean, Pete? And I said, well, statistically speaking, the numbers are against us to constantly have successful sales because you have no control of who's calling into you. If it's outbound and you have a client list, or if it's outside sales, you establish relationships. But in a 2-minute conversation to have one woman, I said, I want to know what she's doing. I want to sit with her. I want to improve because I want to be here. I thought maybe if I said this to this guy, he'd see my initiative and see I wanted to improve. And I kept saying to him, let me sit with, and he said, no, I can't let you do that. We don't have time to take you off the phones and let you sit with Denise. I don't think it's going to do you any good anyway, because she's got her own thing, she's got her own thing. She's got her own thing. She does, So I bugged him about it, and he finally said, all right, I relent. I'm going to let you sit and listen to her. So I sat with Denise, and Denise was like this little Native American lesbian woman, chubby thing. And I finally listened to her because she had this whole banter they don't teach you in training. I picked up all these tricks of the trade, if you will. And what happened? My numbers improved. Ta-da! And I was like, well, thanks for letting me do that. My numbers are improving, and my numbers went up. I never reached the status of the famed lesbian, Native American goddess saleswoman. But my numbers improved. But they didn't see it as me taking initiative. They didn't want me to succeed. This is where I started to learn the darkness of the call centers, because nobody's got your back in these call centers. They're not looking out for you. They don't want you to succeed. They don't want you to have any success at all. And I've never understood why. I think in the sales environment, they can't afford to pay everybody commission, because if they told everybody how to get a sale, really get a sale. And I said to my boss, well, wouldn't it make sense if we were all as successful as Denise? Maybe everybody should sit with her so we can all improve our sales skills. Oh, no, Pete. When I was in the majors, did I tell you I played AAA ball for the Oakland A's? Well, what happened to that there, Bill? Well, I didn't do too good. I wasn't, I never got out of AAA. I never got to AAA. So he didn't understand what I was talking about. And I tried to make baseball analogies. I'd say, well, if you're in AAA, wouldn't you want to get, if you're in AAA, you want to get into the majors. I want to play in the majors. He was like, well, maybe not everybody's, not everybody's meant to be in the majors, Maybe you're not one of those people, Pete. So I'll give you another example. And what I'm trying to paint a picture of is when you get into these call centers, the only person that has your back is you. Your supervisor doesn't care about you. Your coworkers don't have time to care about you. HR is not your friend. They're the guard dog of the corporation. They don't care about you. So I go over to Verizon Wireless. I had dreamed of working at Verizon Wireless because I wanted to get back into telecommunications. So I get hired there. Training was like this grueling 6 weeks in a windowless room in the basement of the building. It was horrible. It was terrible, boring, dry, just awful. So I get through training. I finally get through training, and they say, don't worry. You're out of training now. We're going to put you in a I don't remember what they called it. It was a room they put you in that was it was like a small call center next to the big call center, 2,000 people. It was like a place, and they said, we're going to have little pom-poms you can wave. little pom-poms. If you ever have a question with a customer, you just raise your pom-pom and he just wet my hand. They'll come running over to you and I'll help you with your question. So that training class started off with like 40 people. It's huge. And there was like 30 of us left by the time we got in the little call center, and we all had our pom-poms, and like everybody's shaking them, and the supervisor's standing over in the corner going, "Oh yeah, I'll be right with you." Okay. And they run over and like, "Oh, so what's going on?" And then these floor runners, as I call them, were supposed to be there. That you would come in for your shift and they'd all be gone. Nobody would be there. I'm like, boy, I'm completely alone in this call. So I graduate from the mini call center to the big call center. And my first supervisor there was the chismosa lady. She was so chismosa. She was there, and she was this really cute little Mexican woman. Oh, she had a backside to beg for, you know what I mean? And I don't even know what that means. It just came right out of my ass. Right, that one right there. Backside to beg for. I've never begged for a woman's backside. Maybe I should try that sometime. But so she was really cute, and I got on this team, and she wouldn't. When you're on the main floor, there's no floor walkers anymore. They're all gone, and the only people that are there to answer your questions are the call center supervisors. And there's 2,000 people in this call center. It's like an ocean of headsets, an ocean of little tiny cubicles. And there's Chismosa lady, and I'm like, I get, my first call, I don't remember what it was, but I'm like, can you tell me the speed of light? What happens if you're in a train, you're going westbound with your cell phone, and will the reception be as good if you're going the speed of light on the A train going westbound towards San Francisco? I was like, what? Where do people come up with these questions? These freaking fucking weird questions. So I run over to her desk, and she's like, hold on a second, I'm being chismosa. And so she's doing something else. She's like doing her nails or something. So I'm standing, I'm leaning on a cubicle wall. In the meantime, my talk time is going up and up and up. And she's like, oh, how can I help you? And I tell her, she's like, oh, la, 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 la. She gives me the quick answer, and I go back, and the customer's like, well, that's not the answer I'm looking for. So this woman, this chismosa lady, was never at her desk. Never. And keep in mind, you're in a sea of 2,000 people. And there's no one to ask a question to. And you realize how no one's got your back. No one's there for you. No one's there to help you succeed. The only person that's in these call centers that wants you to succeed is you. And it's all up to you. You're completely alone. And no one is going to sit down with you and hold your hand and say, hey, you know what? You're doing good here. Why don't you apply for the supervisor job? Unless you're friends with the management. Nepotism is huge in these call centers. They bring in their fellow druggies. They bring in their fellow mobsters, their former felons they did time with in the clink. And they're in like Flynn with those people. But if you don't know anybody and you're on your own. Nobody's looking out for you. No one's going to help you. No one's going to try to help you. And if you're struggling, they look for ways to get rid of you as quick as they possibly can. They will stab you in the back and watch you lay there and bleed. And I speak from experience. And it's an awful, horrible, deplorable work environment, and I don't wish it on anyone. Is it as bad as some of the factories, the lithium mines down in Afghanistan where they've got kids working in these things and they're all dying of radiation poisoning? No, it's not that kind of bad. It's not bad like working in a coal mine. Of course not. But it's a mentally and emotionally destructive environment. And for the life of me, I've never understood why they treat us all like this. There doesn't seem to be any real rationale behind it other than, oh my God, we hired this guy. He's not picking it up. We better get rid of him. That makes complete sense. We spent $100,000 to train him. Let's get him out the door so we can spend another $100,000 to get the next dweeb in here. So I don't know what all of your experience has been in a call center, but that's been mine. No one's got your back, and they're going to look for reasons to get rid of you. I don't know about your coworkers. Like most of your coworkers aren't there long enough to stab you in the back. Management is. Somehow management stays there forever and they sit there and they're like, yes, how can we get rid of the dweebs on the phones? Yes, your coworkers don't have time for that. But they're like at Verizon, when I first started my first team I was on, there was this guy next to me. And I tried to make friends. I tried to sit down and talk to him. And he was just saying, he looked like James Taylor. Like when James Taylor was like 22, tall, skinny, looked like Bob Cratchit. He'd just sit there. I'd say, hey, I don't remember what his name was. Let's say his name was JT. And I'd say, hey, what do you think of that Browns game? And he'd go, yeah, their quarterback sucks. And he talked. I'm not even exaggerating. And he just said, he was just like that. Like he's like a mental patient or something. I'm like, oh, shit, I can't talk to this guy. And then Melissa lady was running around having an affair. She was a married woman. Her husband worked in the same call center, and she was cheating on him behind his back with another supervisor across the room. And everybody was talking about how she was such a whore and things like that. The guy was cheating with her was a whore too, probably. But if you want to go to an environment, if you enjoy working in an environment where your job is always threatened, where you're told you're no good, they give you no real guidelines or ways to improve, and you like to be tortured and tormented, and you want to go home and not be able to sleep, and you want to drink and drink and drink because you hate your job, get a job in a call center. If you want to be stabbed in the back relentlessly and have them twist a knife, and you get a job in a call center, there is no better place to be tortured and tormented in a call center. No one's there for you. No one's got your back for you. No one's going to do anything but try to get rid of you. From the moment you set foot in that floor, they're looking for ways to get rid of you. They don't want you to stay. No matter what they say, no matter what the HR rep says, or the pretty little girl that hired you in the little clear 4-inch high heels pumps and her tight little mini skirt that they use to seduce the guys to come in there, and tells you what a wonderful place it is, fun, filled with fun entertainment and games and cash paid daily and great bonuses. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. I kid you not. There is no good side to a call center. So I'm PTPOP, and I thank you all for listening. I hope you all have a really good week. Today, I am going to make some other videos today and see where that takes me. I thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a good week. Stay tuned. Check out my books and my call center survivor t-shirts. Have a good day. Bye. Yay. Say goodbye to Oingo Boingo. Yay. Bye-bye.